Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Bhaja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Bhaja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare हरिनाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की जगत गुरु शिला प्रभुपाद की। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। Hare Krishna. So we are reading from Canto 5, Chapter 17, text number 11. So I'll just read the verse. Tatrapi bharatam eva varsham karma kshetram anyanye asta varshani swarginam punya shesho pabhoga sthanani bhaumani swargapadani vyapadishanti. Word to word meanings. Tatra api, out of all of them, Bharatam, known as Bharatvarsha, Eva, certainly, Varsham, the tract of land, Karma Kshetram, the field of activities, Anyani, the others, Ashtavarshani, 8 tracts of land, Swarginam, of the living entities, elevated to the heavenly planets by extraordinary pious activities, Punya, of the results of pious activities, Shesha, of the remainder, Upabhoga Sthanani, the places for material enjoyment, Bhaumani Swarga Padani, the heavenly places on earth, Vyapadishanti, they designate. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Among the 9 Varshas, the tract of land known as Bharat Varsha is understood to be the field of fruitive activities. Learned scholars and saintly persons declare the other 8 Varshas to be meant for very highly elevated pious persons. After returning from heavenly planets, they enjoy the remaining result of their pious activities in these 8 earthly Varshas. Purport. The heavenly places of enjoyment are divided into 3 groups. The celestial heavenly planets, the heavenly places on earth, and the Bila, heavenly places which are found in the lower regions. Among these 3 classes of heavenly places, Bhauma Swarga Padani, the heavenly places on earth, are the 8 Varshas other than the Bharat Varsha. In the Bhagavad Gita 9.21, Krishna said, Shine Punye Martya Lokam Vishanti. When the persons living in the heavenly planets exhaust the result of their pious activities, they return to this earth. In this way, they are elevated to the heavenly planets and then they again fall down to the earthly planets. This process is known as Brahmanda Brahman, wandering up and down throughout the universes. Those who are intelligent, in other words, those who have not lost their intelligence, do not involve themselves in this process of wandering up and down. They take to the devotional service of the Lord so that they can ultimately penetrate the covering of this universe and enter the spiritual kingdom. Then they are situated on one of the planets known as Vaikuntha Loka, or still higher Krishna Loka, Golok Vrindavan. A devotee is never caught in the process of being promoted to the heavenly planets and again coming down. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, "Ei rupe brahmanda bhramite kona bhagyavan jeev, Guru Krishna Prasade Paye Bhakti Lata Bij. Among all the living entities wandering throughout the universe, one who is most fortunate comes in contact with the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus gets the opportunity to execute devotional service. Those who are sincerely seeking the favor of Krishna come in contact with a Guru, a bona fide representative of Krishna. The Mayavadis indulging in mental speculation and the Karmis desiring the results of their actions cannot become Gurus. A Guru must be a direct representative of Krishna who distributes the instructions of Krishna without any change. Then only the most fortunate persons come in contact with the Guru. As confirmed in the Vedic literatures, Tad Vijnanartham Sa Gurumeva Abhikachet. One has to search out a Guru to understand the affairs of the spiritual world. Srimad Bhagavatam also confirms at this point, Tasmat Gurum Prapaddeta Jigyasu Shreya Uttamam. One who is very interested in understanding the activities in the spiritual world must search out a Guru, a bona fide representative of Krishna. From all angles of vision, therefore, the word Guru is specially meant for the bona fide representative of Krishna and no one else. Padma Puran says, Avaishnavo Guru Nesat. One who is not a Vaishnava or not a representative of Krishna cannot be a Guru. Even the most qualified Brahman cannot be a Guru if he is not a representative of Krishna. Brahmanas are supposed to acquire 6 kinds of auspicious qualifications. They become very learned scholars, Pathan, very qualified teachers, Pathan. They become expert in worshipping the Lord or the demigods, Yajan, and they teach others how to execute this worship, Yajan. They qualified themselves as bona fide persons to receive alms from others, Pratigraha, and they distribute the wealth in charity, Dana. Yet even a Brahmana possessing these qualifications cannot become a Guru unless he is the representative of Krishna, Guru Nyasat. Vaishnava Sapacho Guru. But a Vaishnava, a bona fide representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, can become a Guru even if he is Swapacha, a member of the family of dog eaters. Of the 3 divisions of heavenly planets, Swarga Loka, Bhauma Swarga is sometimes accepted as the tract of land in Bharatvarsha known as Kashmir. In this region, there are certainly good facilities for material sense enjoyment. But this is not the business of a pure transcendentalist. Rupa Goswami describes the engagement of a pure transcendentalist as follows. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhaktiruttama. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. Those who fully engage in devotional service to Krishna just to please him are not interested in the 3 divisions of heavenly places, namely Divya Swarga, Bhauma Swarga and Bila Swarga. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Shah Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyat Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Hai Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratushe Namaha Hey Krishna Ninabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpataro Bhisha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bhukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatam ham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. So we're discussing from this chapter, 5th Canto 17th chapter, which mostly describes, till now we have been discussing about the descent of Mother Ganges. Or basically how the Mother Ganga comes from the spiritual world and how it enters this material universe. So we discussed the origin in the previous classes, how it comes from the spiritual world, how Mother Ganga was there in the causal ocean, and we elaborately discussed the pastime of Vaman Dev. So how Vaman Dev came in the form of a dwarf and he tricked Bali Maharaj. He asked him for the 3 paces of land, and that's how when he was keeping his second foot, he pierced through the coverings of the universe. So he pierced through all the coverings of the universe, and that's how we understand this whole was created. And we also understand this was not some small covering that was there. This was not like a small wall, but a huge covering that was there. Huge covering of the 7 different elements. Each element 10 times greater than the other, and Vaman Dev, just by his foot, he pierced through all the coverings, and that's how Ganga leaked through that hole. Or that's how Mother Ganga descended into this material world. And that's why, because he pierced through the covering through his foot, and Mother Ganga washed the lotus feet of the Lord. And that's why another name for Mother Ganga is Vishnupadi. Or just like the Lord gives shelter to everyone, because this Mother Ganga washes the lotus feet of the Lord, it also has the potency to give shelter to any living being. And that's why it is called as Vishnupadi. And the place where it falls, we discussed the Dhruv Loka where the Mother Ganga comes, that is called a Vishnupad. Because again, the Mother Ganga falls on that place which has washed the lotus feet of the Lord. So now we understand, we have discussed this previously also, Lord comes in many different ways. Just to give us shelter, just to actually help the conditioned souls revive the eternal relationship with Him. He comes in many ways. He comes in the form of Archa Vigraha, the deity of the Lord. He comes in the form of the rocks as Govardhan. He comes in form of scriptures. And one of the way in which the Lord descends is in the form of water. That is described, He descends in the form of this Mother Ganges. Again to give us shelter. And now if we want to understand the pastimes of river Ganges or the importance of river Ganges, river Mother Ganga, so many such things happen in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If we read, there are many pastimes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavat, which talks about how Mother Ganga was very dear to Lord, or how he glorifies Mother Ganga like anything. How he loved to bathe in Mother Ganga, how he loved to worship the Mother Ganga. So we all know in the Krishna Leela, when it was happening, when Lord Krishna's pastime was happening, so it's described Ganga Devi and Yamuna Devi, they are both like sisters. So now all the pastimes of Lord Krishna, we know they happened in Vrindavan, where Yamuna is flowing, river Yamuna is flowing. And so many pastimes we know, which Krishna had, so many intimate pastimes with Mother Yamuna was there. We all know the pastimes of the cows, the cowherd boys, and Lord himself, he used to go play in the play in the river Yamuna. Sometimes they used to drink the water of river Yamuna. And sometimes it's also described Mother Yashoda would take Lord Krishna, she would bathe him in Yamuna. So many intimate pastimes happen in river Yamuna. And many other pastimes also we know how when he took his birth, that's when Vasudev took him from Mathura to Vrindavan and he crossed the river Yamuna. And it's described that the Mother Yamuna, she gave way just so that Vasudev can pass through the entire river. And apart from that, many other pastimes, it's described the pastimes, the intimate pastimes of the Ras Leela of the Lord. So many water sports used to happen, many intimate pastimes also used to happen in river Yamuna. So now all this happened in Krishna Leela when they were having these pastimes. That time it's described that Ganga Devi also got a desire. She was seeing that how Yamuna Devi was serving the Lord in different ways. How Yamuna Devi was serving all the Brajvasis. How the Yamuna Devi was serving all the associates of the Lord and the Lord himself in different ways. And Ganga said not out of jealousy but out of a desire to serve, Mother Ganga also got a desire that she also wants to serve the Lord. And she also started praying to the Lord. She also started praying that I also want an opportunity to serve you just as River Yamuna is serving you, or just as Yamuna Devi is serving you. And that is when it's described, since Lord fulfills the desire of his pure devotees, Lord always takes care to complete or fulfill the desire of his pure devotees. And that's why, because of the desire of Mother Ganga, Lord came here 500 years ago in this Kali Yuga as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he did all his pastimes right on the banks of river Ganga. Many, many amazing pastimes are there which Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did, and how he worshipped Mother Ganga. How he had so much respect for Mother Ganga. It's described that when he was a young student, every day he will go, he'll worship the Ganga, he'll pay his obeisances to Mother Ganga, he'll bow down to Mother Ganga. And one time it's described one very amazing pastime happened. So when Lord Chaitanya was young, when he was Nimai Pandit, the great scholar, and he was standing on the banks of Mother Ganga. This is in Navdeep. And that time there were devotees, there was one devotee who was noticing all this. He saw that Mother Ganga was swelling more and more. Mother Ganga was increasing in size more and more, swelling more and more, until it swelled more and more and came and touched the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya or Nimai Pandit. And that's when this devotee saw that Mother Ganga came in her personified form and she started offering worship to Lord Chaitanya. This is how it's described. There were many, many amazing loving pastimes that happened in Navadip between Nimai Pandit or Lord Chaitanya and Mother Ganga. Also, it's described every day when he was a teacher, when he was teaching scholar or when he was teaching logic to his students. So all those pastimes used to happen near Mother Ganga or on the banks of river Ganga. Even the great scholar who was there, Keshav Kashmiri, who is described, who was defeating everyone, and finally he came to Navdeep. That time also Lord Chaitanya asked him to compose some prayers in glorification of Mother Ganga. And we know how he composed many, many prayers, set of prayers, and then Chaitanya found out some faults in his prayers. So how there were many, many intimate pastimes it's described in the land of Navdeep, which happened with Lord Chaitanya, and Ganga was there in the Mother Ganges. It's described that when they were young, just like Krishna used to perform pastimes along with the cowherd boys in in Yamuna Devi, similarly Lord Chaitanya or Nimai Pandit along with all his friends, entire day they would spend swimming and playing in the Mother Ganges, or they would do different water sports in the Mother Ganges. Sometimes they would also harass the citizens, harass the devotees in different ways, in using the Mother Ganges or splashing the Mother Ganges on them. So this is how it describes, because he had a desire, because Mother Ganga expressed desire to have these pastimes with the Lord. Lord personally descended in that place of Navdeep and had many, many amazing pastimes with Mother Ganga. And it's also said that after Lord Chaitanya took sannyas, after he went to Jagannath Puri, at one time he himself expressed this to Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya. So he said that I have a desire to go to Navdeep just for two reasons. One of the reasons was I want to see Mother Sachi. And second reason he mentioned, I want to see Ganga Devi. So this is how much dear Mother Ganga was to Lord Chaitanya, that he had this desire just to go to Navdeep, just to have darshan of Mother Ganga. And it's described that one time he was going on the banks of Mother Ganga, he had darshan of the Ganga. This was in his later pastimes when he was doing the Sankirtan pastimes. And that time he paid his obeisances to Mother Ganga. He began crying and weeping. And that time he started saying that Ganga is actually non-different from the lotus feet of the Lord. Or it's non-different from the Charnamrit of the Lord. It's equivalent to the Charnamrit of the Lord. And he started drinking the water of the river Ganges. That's how dear it was to the Supreme Lord. That's how dear it was to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that time he spoke something very amazing. That time Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told all the devotees that anyone who sees this river, anyone who touches this river, anyone who bathes in this river, or anyone even gets the breeze that is flowing above this river, even such a person will be delivered of all his sins and he would get devotional service to Lord Krishna. That is how much importance Lord Chaitanya gave to Mother Ganga. Even one more pastime I remember. This is again a pastime when he was young, when Nimai Pandit was there. So Nimai Pandit has too much respect for Mother Ganga. He always used to worship river Ganga, and it's described that he never used to place his feet inside the water, except when he wanted to take a bath. Like before taking a bath, he would pay his obeisances, he would go inside, take a bath and come out. But apart from that, he never used to touch his feet on the waters of river Ganga. So one time one of his teachers was there. I don't remember the name of the teacher, but one of his teachers, he wanted to test Nimai Pandit. or he wanted to see that does he really follow this. So this one, when Nimai was young, one of his teachers, he went inside to take bath inside Mother Ganges. And he purposefully left some of his items for worship. He left it on the shore or left it on the banks. And then he called to Nimai Pandit. Then he called that, please can you pass me those items. He wanted to see that how Nimai Pandit would come and pass him the items without touching Lord Mother Ganga with his feet. And described Lord Chaitanya or Nimai Pandit immediately went, he picked up all those items and he started walking toward Mother Ganges. And it's described just as he was about to enter, he was about to touch the feet of or touch the Mother Ganges. Immediately it's described a lotus flower sprouted from the Mother Ganga, and his feet was placed on that lotus flower. And that's how, as he was walking towards his teacher, immediately lotus flower was sprouting from the Mother Ganga and he was placing his feet on the different lotus flowers. So it's described he never placed his foot on the Mother Ganges. And his teacher also understood that this is not some ordinary person. He is a great personality, or he is the Supreme Lord himself. So that's how it's described that there were many glories of Mother Ganga, especially in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. We see in Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat, how even Advaita Acharya, who lived in Shantipur, he also lived on the banks of Mother Ganga, and he also used to worship the Ganga daily, or used to use the water of Ganga to worship the Shaligram Shila every day. So this is what is described, this is what we have been discussing till now about the descent of Mother Ganges, how it comes in this material world, how it comes from the Dhruva Loka to various planetary systems, and finally it comes to this material world, or finally it comes to this Bharat Varsha just by the prayers of King Bhagirath. So many such descriptions are given in the previous verses also, which describes about the descent of Mother Ganges and also about the glories of Mother Ganges. And now in this verse we are seeing there is some description of the Bharat Varsha that is given, or it's discussed about the importance of this Bharat Varsha. So actually if we analyze this chapter, if we read this entire chapter, it will appear more of a geography class, or we can say a transcendental geography class that is given, where different aspects are given, that how the Mother Ganga came to different planetary systems, and now different Varshas are given, the Bharat Varsha, importance of Bharat Varsha, and the planetary system positioning is given. So it appears more of a geography class, but we have to understand that why all these things are given. So we all know the pastime of Narad Muni and Vyasdev, that when Vyasdev was dissatisfied after writing all the scriptures, Vyasdev had written all the Puranas, he has written all the Upanishads, he had written all the different kind of scriptures that were there. But still he was feeling dissatisfied, he was not very happy. And that time Narad Muni comes to that place, and Narad Muni tells him the reason of his dissatisfaction. And the reason was just two. Narad Muni says that you are not happy even after writing all the scriptures, even after writing all these things, because you have glorified so many things in the scriptures. You have written about religion, you have written about sense gratification, you have written about economic development, but then you have not sufficiently and repeatedly glorified the Supreme Lord. And that is the reason even after writing all the scriptures, you are not at all satisfied. And that's when we understand that Vyasdev wrote in his mature form, he wrote the Srimad Bhagavatam, or this is called as the mature fruit of all the Vedic literatures. But now even in this mature fruit, this question might come that still so many descriptions of different planetary systems, still so many things are described. So why all these things are described? So we know the 10 subject matters that are there in the Srimad Bhagavatam. The very famous shloka which talks about the different subject matters of Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, Atra sarga visargascha sthanam poshanam utaya manmantra ishanu katha nirodho muktir ashraya. So this talks about what are the different things that are described in Srimad Bhagavatam. What are the 10 subject matters, which includes the Sarga, that is the primary creation by the Supreme Lord, Visarga, the secondary creation by Brahma, and so many other things that are given. And one of the things that is mentioned in the science in this different the statements of the Srimad Bhagavatam, or different subject matters of the Srimad Bhagavatam, is Sthanam. Sthanam, which means the different planetary systems that are there, or the different positions of the different planetary systems, different aspects of the different Varshas. That is also subject matter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And now if you want to understand that why all this is given, so it's very important to understand that when we read such descriptions, like in this verse we are reading all the descriptions of the different Swargas that are there, Till now, the people in general, they know only of one Swargaloka. That is the Swargaloka in the higher planetary systems. They speak that, yeah, if we do nice activities, we'll go to that Swarga, means the heavenly planetary systems. But here, so much detailed description of the Swargas is given, that how there is Swargaloka in the higher planetary systems, how there is something called as Bhoma Swarga also. Even in this Bhumandal that is there, one Varsha is this Bharat Varsha. But it's described that the 8 other Varshas that are, total there are 9 Varshas in this entire Bhumandal. And one of the Varshas is Bharat Varsha. But apart from this Bharat Varsha, the other 8 Varshas are also called as Bhoma Swarga. And here it is clearly given that how when a person does some pious activities, when a person does all the fruitive activities that are given in the scriptures, the Karma Kanda activities, then first he goes to the heavenly planetary systems. And he has a huge duration of life there, he enjoys life there. There are no miseries, there is no old age, there is no disease. But of course, as we discussed previously, death is always there. Even though old age is not there, disease is not there, finally the person dies there or vanishes from there. And that's where the description is given that whatever remaining credits he have, he comes to this Bhoma Swarga. Or he comes to the different Varshas that are there in the Bhumandala, and then he enjoys life there. And finally, after enjoying life there, he comes back to this Tapobhumi, or this field of fruitive activities. So the question we were trying to understand, or we were trying to discuss, is that why so much description is there. So one of the amazing things is, when we understand all these things, when we understand how great the creation of the Lord is, how great so many creations of the Lord, and if you try to analyze why so much creation is there. Lord could have created just one planetary system, one small continent, or one small this, and he could have placed all the living entities there. But if you try to analyze and understand why so much creation is there, or why so much forms of creation, varieties of enjoyment Lord has created, our Sambandh Gyan becomes very, very clear. Or we understand the position of the Lord, we understand who the Supreme Lord is, and we also understand our position. And also, after reading such descriptions, we understand the merciful nature of the Lord. We understand that it was our desire only, it was the living entities who desired to enjoy separate from the Lord. And sometimes Lord could have simply refused or told not that, Lord, whatever we might have desired, he might not have given. But still, just to fulfill the varying desires of the living entities, just to fulfill their different kinds of enjoyment, he created so many different planetary systems. He created the Swarga in the higher planetary systems, he created the Bhoma Swarga, and then there is something called as Bila Swarga even in the lower planetary systems, where it's described technology and advancement is more prominent in the lower planetary systems. So just for the pleasure of the living entities, because they wanted to enjoy separate from the Lord, they wanted to enjoy separately without worshipping the Lord, Lord gives all these facilities, or Lord does all this just so that they can fulfill all their desires. And with the hope, Lord definitely hopes that one day they will realize that all this is ultimately useless, or none of it can actually satisfy the living entity, and finally then the person will turn towards him. So when we understand and read all this description, read the amazing description of the creation, which even we didn't read in any geography class. We hadn't read such an extensive description of the entire creation in any of our geography classes. So when we understand how big the creation is, how small we are, we understand about the greatness of the Lord, or we understand who the Lord is, what's his position, and who are we. We are very, very infinitesimal. And that's how we understand that there's a huge difference between us and the Lord. And actually, after understanding all these things, we become humble. That is a natural impact of understanding about the greatness of the Lord. And that's why it's very, very important to understand that why these descriptions are given is just to understand about the greatness of the Lord, just to understand the greatness of the creation, and also to make us more and more humble. So that we understand that we are just minute particles, we are not someone big, and then we can engage in devotional service. So entire Srimad Bhagavatam we see, or any kind of scripture we see, it talks about the science of devotional service, or talks about the science of Supreme Lord. And to understand the science of Supreme Lord, it said that science of Supreme Lord has to be understood in 3 phases. What are those 3 phases? It's given as Sambandha, Abhidheya and Prayojan. This is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, that all scriptures that are there, any Vedic scripture should be understood in terms of Sambandh, Abhidheya and Prayojan. And here when we talk of Srimad Bhagavatam, it also has these three subject matters that are there. That is the Sambandh, that is Abhideya, and finally comes the Prayojan. So when we analyze all this geography that is given, the position of planetary systems are given, different planets that are given. So now actually this description is not there to enthuse us to go to these different planetary systems. It's not there that it's motivating us that we should aspire for these planetary systems. We should also go for this. But actually all these descriptions, as I already mentioned, is just to understand the Sambandh, who is the Supreme Lord and what is our relationship with Him. And right from Bhagavad Gita, we understand the same thing is there. Even in Bhagavad Gita, this thing is made very clear when the shloka that is given, Abrahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravartino Arjuna. Right from all that theme, the theme is made clear that even though there may be varieties of material enjoyment in different planetary systems, when we go to Brahma Loka, in the Gita, the description of life in Brahma Loka is given, very, very huge, Sahasra Yuga Paryantam it's given. But there also it's clearly mentioned that even if we go to Brahma Loka, we'll have to return back to this material world. Nothing is permanent in this world. And again, in the same theme is repeated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that how this material world is just a useless place. Or whatever enjoyments are there, they may be different kinds of enjoyment, all these descriptions might be there. But those descriptions are not there so that we get motivated by these descriptions or inspired by these descriptions, but just so that we can understand the position of the Supreme Lord. We can understand how great the Lord is and how great His creation is. And that is why we understand when Shukdev Goswami also speaks about all these descriptions to Parikshit Maharaj. We never seen Parikshit Maharaj getting inspired for all this or asking that what is the process to get there or what activities I have to perform. He just listens to all this and he also appreciates the greatness of the Supreme Lord. And that is why all this description is just to clarify a sambandha. And described Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to say that all philosophy we understand should be understood in terms of these three aspects. That are Sambandh, Abhideya and Prayojan. It's described what to speak of devotees, even non-devotees, when it comes to non-devotees, when it comes to Mayavadis. Their philosophy is also in terms of these three aspects. If we try to analyze their philosophy, they also have a Sambandh, they also have a Abhideya and they also have a Prayojan. Even though their Sambandh is very, very funny, but still their Sambandh is there. Just like our Sambandh, we understand we are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. We are meant to engage in service of the Supreme Lord. They also have Sambandh that they are the Supreme Lord. I am God. That's what their Sambandh Gyan is there. And another thing they understand is I am God, but somehow or the other I have forgotten my position. Or somehow or the other I don't remember that I am God. And then they also have a Abhideya. Just like we have a Abhideya of different aspects of devotional service, they also have their own Abhideya. They also practice different austerities of the body, do different activities, different kinds of penances they do for the body. They feel that just by emaciating this body, just by doing these austerities, they'll remember. Or they'll get out of that illusion and they'll understand, they'll reach the Prayojan, that is, they are the Supreme Lord. But one thing they understand, it is even there. Even in their philosophy, they feel that they have some Sambandh, they have some Abhideya, some practices they do, and they also have a Prayojan. But of course, we don't see such Mayavadis nowadays. Nowadays, it's more of a degraded version of Mayavadis. Their philosophy is, I am God, and what do you do about it? Nothing. I'll go sleep, do my office work, and I am God. Something like that they have. Recently, I gave that example before also, like a boy I met for when I was distributing the books. So when I was giving the books, he said that, I don't like this interpretation. This is not correct interpretation of the Gita. So then I asked him, okay, which interpretation you are interested to read or which interpretation you like? And then he said, no, I have my own interpretation. I have my own interpretation of my own mind. And I said, but how can you give your own interpretation? Every interpretation has to be got from someone. We receive the knowledge from some person and then only we can speak something. So where are you getting all your knowledge for? And then he spoke this degraded philosophy. No, I am God. I can speak everything or I can give my own interpretation. Something like that. So nowadays that is not even Mayavad. That is just gross foolishness that is there. Because there is no Sambandh, there is no Abhideya. Just they speak about Prayojan that I have become God without anything. But anyways, the point I was trying to make is how the philosophy has to be understood in these terms of these three things, that is Sambandh, Abhideya and Prayojan. Even when it comes to forget about Mayavadis, even when it comes to materialist, in all their activities also they have these three things. So their Sambandh is that I am this body and everything that belongs to the body, that is mine. Basically Aham and Mameti. And their prayojan is sense enjoyment. I want to enjoy more and more, as much as possible I want to engage in sense enjoyment. And their abhidaya is that I'll work hard like a donkey, I'll work hard like an ass just to get that prayojan, or just to enjoy my senses more and more, more and more. I want to work hard like a donkey. So even we see any class of people that is there, anyone who follows something, they have these three things. And same way now coming back to us as devotees. So it's very, very important to understand these three things very, very clearly. What is the sambandh that is there? What is the abhidaya and what is the prayojan? Because sometimes it gets mixed. It gets mixed with other philosophies and we get deviated from the path. And that's why we have these Bhagavatam classes. That's why we have all this setup, just to fix our understanding, or just to make our understanding very, very clear. Because if understanding is not clear, just like we see the example in the Chaitanya Charitamrita of a personality who was chanting the Lord Ram's name. Continuously he was chanting the names of the Lord, but his thing was, or his motive was that I want to become Lord Ram, or I want to become God. So if that kind of motive is there, then the process of devotional service won't have any impact, or then we won't be able to advance in devotional service. Another important point that is mentioned is that even if you have the correct understanding, even if the Sambandh Gyan is clear, even if you understand who is the Supreme Lord, if you understand our position, but then another thing that is there is, we also need to know how to attain the goal, or we also need to know what is the process of attaining the goal. Because speculation can be anything. Speculation can be about the Sambandh with the Lord. Speculation can also be about the Abhidaya. What is the process that has to be followed? Someone might follow some of his own mental concocted process. So even if the process is not clear, or if we think we are very, very advanced, very, very great, and we don't follow the process in a proper way, then also attaining the goal becomes very, 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 very difficult. Or then also abhidaya, then also even though someone might be clear, if the abhidaya is not proper, then also we are not able to attain the goal. And one of the things that is mentioned, a very, very important thing, that is the aspect of humility. So when we are practicing devotional service, when we are doing different activities of devotional service, humility is very, very important. Even in the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shikshashtakam, when we understand, when we recite that prayer, Ai Nandatanuja Kim Karam Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavad Budam Kripaya Tab Pada Pankaja Stitaduli Sadrisham Vichintaya. So again, that talks about the mode of humility, that how I'm your eternal servant, but somehow or other I have fallen into this ocean of nescience. I've fallen into this ocean of darkness, and please help me to again rise back to your lotus feet. Or please consider me, or please engage me in your devotional service. So again, when that humility aspect is missing, or when that proper abhidaya is not proper, then also attaining the goal becomes very, very difficult. And that's why it's very, very important to have a clear understanding of all this. Like another example we can take of Sambandh, the wrong idea, or what we call as the Apasampradaya. So when we speak of this Apasampradaya, again it means the same thing, sampradayas with a wrong understanding, or their Sambandh is not very clear. Like one of the sects I was hearing, they call themselves as Gaur Nagari. They are the sects they call themselves as followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but there is a sect called as Gaur Nagari. Even Prabhupada writes about them in multiple of his purports. So now these people, they worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with Vishnu Priya. They worship the form of the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with Vishnu Priya, but one thing that is wrong is, their Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has a flute, and he is playing on the flute. So again, the Sambandh, as even Harikshit Prabhuji was mentioning the same thing, that even if you are worshipping the Lordships, they are the Lordships themselves. But if the understanding is not proper, if you do something which is which is not there in the scriptures, then even that worship won't have any effect. And there are many such Apasampradayas with proper misunderstanding. Like one of the Apasampradayas, they consider fish to be vegetarian. And they'll offer fish to the Lord, adding tulsi leaf in it. So that is also Apasampradaya. They might be taking everything after offering it to the Lord, but then they don't understand the proper way of worshipping the Lord. They know that He is the Supreme Lord. They know we have to offer the bhoga to Him. But what to offer, what not to offer, or what is the abhidaya, how to practice devotional service, again, that is not very, very clear. So this thing about the understanding of Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, we being the tiny servants of the Lord, and somehow or the other, because of the influence of the illusory energy, we have got deviated from the path, and our entire process is to turn our face towards the Lord. This thing should be very, very clear. Then again, when we are talking of the Abhidheya also, correct understanding of the process also has to be very, very important. Of following Guru, Sadhu and Shastra becomes very, very important. Because we might understand the basics, we might understand the sambandh, but when we don't follow the process in the proper way that is given, or that the process that has been designed by Srila Prabhupada, then also reaching the goal becomes very, very difficult. Like same thing, many examples given even when we talk of mathematics. When we solve some mathematical problem, many problems we used to solve. And even if we do everything correctly, but somewhere in the middle we do something wrong, then the entire output is wrong, and entire calculation goes wrong. Similarly, we might be doing some steps, or we might be doing the Abhidheya in a one particular way, but even if we do something wrong, or something based on our own speculation, but not as is given by the Acharyas, then again we miss the target, or we don't achieve the Prayojan. So that's why these two things become very, very important. One is understanding the proper philosophy, and another is having the proper methodology, or following the things in a proper way. Because ultimately we see in Kali Yuga, if we speak about our qualification, we are very, very fallen, and naturally if we see, we don't have any qualification. And Ved Vyas also glorifies in the Bhagavatam about the qualification of the living entities in Kali Yuga. So he says, Prayana alpayusha sabhya kalao asmin yuge jana manda sumanda matyo manda bhagya hi upadrata. So anyways, it's told about the glories of people in Kali Yuga. So many things are given, that how the people will have short lives, they'll be manda, they'll be lazy, they'll be misguided. And even if they want to follow a spiritual process, there's a huge possibility they'll be misguided or going into some wrong direction. And above all, people in this age are always disturbed. So that's why it becomes very, very important to understand that we need to have the understanding of the proper philosophy, and the methodology or process of following the principles also needs to be proper, also needs to be correct. And that is why it's said that Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he has given so many aspects, so many of the 64 limbs of devotional service we talk about. So he had given all that things, he had given also basic regulative principles which need to be followed by all the devotees, or which are very, very important in following the Abhidheya or in getting the Prayojan. This Abhidheya becomes very, very important. So one of the things that is important in that, or one of the statements that is given there, that Rupa Goswami has given all the regulative principles. Now again, when it comes to application of the principles, or when we speak about the details, now they also may vary from time to time, and they may be given by the Acharyas. Like one of the examples we can understand, previous Acharyas when they were there. So they had prescribed chanting of 64 rounds. They had prescribed that we should chant 64 rounds and multiple other things. And we know Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also used to tell his disciples to chant 64 rounds. But when it comes to Prabhupada, when he preached, he gave that we should chant 16 rounds. So now again question comes, when we are following this process, when we are following this method, and this is one of the details. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it said that we should chant the holy names of the Lord. And one of the details is chanting 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So now when this question comes that if we chant only 16 rounds, so will we achieve the same goal? Or will we achieve the same Prayojan as was given by the previous Acharyas? So one thing that has to be very, very clearly understood in this, that when Prabhupada told chanting 16 rounds, so he didn't say that remaining time we should go to sleep, or we should play football, or we should engage in different activities. Remaining time also he engaged the disciples in proper activities of devotional service. Or as we speak about the morning program we have, so he gave the very tight schedule of the morning program, right from Mangal Aarti, when we speak about different aspects we do in the morning program till the Bhagavatam class. And then we know the schedule which the initial devotees used to follow of the morning program, and then they used to go out for Sankirtan the entire day. And in the evening they used to have the Gaur Aarti and the Krishna book reading in the night, and finally they used to go to sleep. So even though Prabhupada prescribed 16 rounds, doesn't mean that it won't help us to achieve the entire destination, or achieve the required goal that is there, provided we follow all the other activities that were given. Or provided we engage ourselves in all the different limbs of devotional service which Prabhupada gave, or different activities or different services which Prabhupada gave. Because when we follow the different processes, then definitely we can achieve the required goal, because it has been given by an Acharya. It has been given by a bona fide Acharya in the Parampara, who helps us engage in different limbs of devotional service. At the same time, I was hearing that if we start speculating on all this, Either if we start speculating on the philosophy or we start speculating on the process that is given by the spiritual master, then there is a huge chance that we may get deviated from the process. Like initially it was given, one of the examples I was hearing, that some devotees in the initial days, now in the Western world, when they were preaching to the Western audience, so they developed some concoctions of their own. They thought that, okay, if you want to preach to all this Western audience, so instead of chanting shlokas in Sanskrit, we'll chant shlokas in English. They'll be able to resonate with those more. And instead of wearing all these different dresses, we'll dress ourselves like Christians. We'll wear the orange robes and we'll dress ourselves like them so that we can preach to them effectively. And all these devotees, they started thinking like that, again, which was a concoction. And they thought that this will help us preach to them more effectively, or people will like it more better. And ultimately what happened, neither the people liked it, and they also started losing their own spiritual strength. Whatever strength they have, whatever things they have, they also started losing all that, and it was like a gross deviation they took from the path. So the point I'm trying to make is, when whatever the proper philosophy that has been given, the Sambandh Gyan is clear, and also the method that is given by the Acharya, or the different aspects of devotional service, different limbs that has been focused by Srila Prabhupada, if we follow all the different limbs as it is, then definitely it will give us the desired result. But if we go on deviating ourselves, if we create a process of our own, if we do something which is based on our own concoction, then it will be difficult, or then we'll get deviated from the path, and then we won't be able to achieve the prayojan that is there. Because as it said in the Bhagavatam also, Bhakti Pareshanubhava Viraktri Anyatra Chaisha Trika Ekakala. Basically all these three things that are there, Bhakti means devotion, Para-isha means the direct perception of the Lord, or direct experience of the Lord. And Virakti means detachment from all the other material objects, or detachment from material sense gratification. So it's described that when someone engages in pure devotional service, when someone follows the path of pure devotional service, automatically these three things come. Or automatically his devotion to the Lord increases, direct experience of the Lord increases, and automatically or naturally he becomes detached from the material sense objects. And the example that is given is the example of taking food. Just like when a person is very, very hungry and he takes a morsel of the food, naturally he doesn't have to test anything, he'll naturally feel relief from his hunger. With every morsel his hunger will go down more and more. And he doesn't have to ask anyone that is my hunger reducing or not, or am I advancing or not. Naturally he'll feel that his hunger is going down. Naturally he'll feel pleasure in that process, and naturally he'll feel nourished by the process. Same as person is practicing all the three things, sambandh, or all the two things, he understands the sambandh properly, he understands the philosophy properly. His abhidheya is also very proper, or whatever has been given by the Acharya, whatever schedule has been given by the Acharya, that is being properly followed. Then naturally he'll experience all these things. He'll experience all the three things that are given, that are the symptoms that are given in Bhagavatam. And in this regard, I was hearing one of the examples of my own spiritual master. So I've given this before also. So in the initial days when Mayapur temple construction was happening, so now in the initial days, Prabhupada had given them a target that in 3 months the initial building has to be constructed. I don't know which, maybe the Lotus building or the initial buildings that were there. So Prabhupada gave them that within 3 months all this has to be constructed. And that time India, the facilities were not that much advanced. Even now we don't have that much advanced facilities, but that time they were all very basic. But Prabhupada told them whatever it is, and my spiritual master was telling, the instruction was given to it, somehow you engage every month, but everything should be completed within 3 months. And that time he was discovering there was a race that was going on. Entire day they used to work, they have the day shift that was there, the night shift that was there. Devotees will be engaged 24/7 in that thing. That was a service given by Srila Prabhupada. And they engaged many, many laborers. It's described more than 600 laborers were there engaged in that project. Many engineers were there. And sometimes there will be so much confusion that some wall would get constructed somewhere, and then they would realize this wall is not at all needed here, and then they'll break down the wall and some other thing will happen. So many ups and downs happened in that project, but within 3 months, with that entire time and pace, with that entire effort, they completed the entire project. But anyways, the point he was trying to mention in that he said that time we had a completely packed schedule. That time completely all the devotees were engaged in that project, and sometimes it used to happen that someone is not found there, or in the morning time someone is not present on the construction site, And devotees would be asking each other that where is that devotee, and someone will tell, oh, that devotee is attending Mangal Aarti. And others will be angry like anything. What is he doing there? He should be here, and something as if he had committed an offense attending the Mangal Aarti. So he was telling all these entire pastimes that happened, and in the end he said, made a very amazing, interesting point. He said that even though we engaged like that, even though we did all the activities and the temple also got constructed, and this was all happening under the instruction of Prabhupada that we worked like that, but finally after that we came back to a normal schedule. And that time he said this, he made this very interesting statement that it's very, very important to come back and follow the regular program that is also given by Srila Prabhupada, just so that again we can become enthused, or again we can become recharged in practicing devotional service. And that time he was mentioning that if someone stays on that erratic schedule for a long time, or someone doesn't recharge himself, or someone doesn't intensely practice devotional service, then with time his strength in devotional service goes down. And so it's very, very important that even though sometimes it might be erratic, or we might go on some erratic schedule due to whatever services it's there, but it's very important to come back to the regular schedule or follow the regular engagement in devotional service. And this he was given his own example that how they followed that. But after that, after the entire project was completed, they again also came back to the regular schedule and started following the entire process that was given by Srila Prabhupada. This was the importance he gave about the Abhideya, that how it is very, very important to follow the process or follow the Abhideya as given by the spiritual master. So finally, after this, we see in this verse, so this description of the different swargas also given. Divya Swarga. So in the end, Prabhupada writes this very interesting thing about the different planetary systems, or the different description of the Divya Swarga, Bhauma Swarga, Bila Swarga. And finally, he mentioned for devotees that they are not interested in either of them. Neither they are interested to go to the higher planetary systems, neither they are interested to enjoy in the Bharat Varsha itself, or not in the Bharat Varsha, in the other Varshas in this Bhumandal itself, or neither in the Bila Swarga. Because devotees, their desire or their aspiration is only one, to practice pure devotional service and go back to the spiritual abode, to engage in the service of the Supreme Lord. And the only reason it's given here, they do not want to enjoy in any of the planetary systems, because their goal is to engage in devotional service. They want to serve the Supreme Lord. And they do not want to go anywhere else where there is no service to the Supreme Lord. They do not want to engage in their service of their own senses. And that is why devotees, they only have only one desire, that is to go back and serve the Supreme Lord in his spiritual abode. And that's why they are not distracted by all these descriptions of Divya Sarga, Bhauma Sarga and Bila Sarga. So one thing we understand, one thing which is very, very clear, that if all these things are very, very clear, means we understand what is our sambandha with the Supreme Lord, proper understanding is there. Proper understanding of the prayojan is there, that this is not the prayojan. Prayojan is not to go to higher planetary systems, but prayojan is to go back to the Supreme Lord, go back to the spiritual abode to attain loving service to him. And if we follow the Abhideya also properly, if we follow the teachings given by Srila Prabhupada, the steps given by Srila Prabhupada, the schedule given by Srila Prabhupada, then we'll make rapid advancement in devotional service, and then we'll attain the highest abode. If we engage in speculation in either of the three, either speculation in the Sambandha, either speculation in the Abhideya that this has to be done like this, not like that, or speculation in the ultimate goal. If we speculate in either of three, then there is a huge possibility we might get deviated from the path, or we might not attain the ultimate goal that is there. So with this, I would like to pause here. Hare Krishna. Yes. In this Bharat Varsha. So those who are doing pious activities, they'll go to the higher planetary system, Swarga Loka. Then the description here is given that they'll enjoy in the Swarga Loka, and after that credits are finished, they'll come back to the Bhauma Swarga. Not to the Bharat Varsha, they'll come back to the Bhauma Swarga. The remaining credits, whatever they have left, little bit credits are left it seems, so they'll be enjoying there. And finally, after enjoying there, they come back to this Bharat Varsha, to the this Karma Kshetra, or this field of fruitive activities that is given. So this is how the description. And even in the Bhumandala, we'll see in the verses to come a huge description of the enjoyment that is given, that even in the other Swargas that is there is very, very great, amazing enjoyment is there. There is no disease, there is no old age again. And people enjoy this. Sexual enjoyment is unlimited. Even pregnancy is not there. Prabhupada explains that point also in the purport. So many different kinds of enjoyment are there. But ultimately, a person has to finally come back to this Bharatvarsha. And again, has to engage in fruitive activities. Like that. Bila Swarga, maybe the people who are engaging in sinful activities. I asked the same question to Maharaj Prabhu also. He was telling that he quoted that shloka from Bhagavad Gita, Urdhva gachanti sattvastha, madhya tishnanti rajasa, adho gachanti tamasa. So maybe tamasic people in ignorance. Hare Krishna, so we'll end for today. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.